Nuclear launch detected. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Hearthstone video. And since today marks the release of Hearthstone's newest expansion, the BOOMSDAY project, I decided to let's do another top 10. And since I was about 80% correct on my previous picks from all the other top 10s, I'm feeling pretty well for this one as well. And first up on the block we have the Druid legendary Forbiddeness Floop, who's a 4-mana 3/4 minion with the text that reads, "While in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played." A stupid card with an equally stupid name. What more can I say about the infamous Floop, also known as 4-mana Malygos? So let's just move on. And moving right into another super busted Druid card, we have the Juicy Psych Melon, a 4-mana spell that draws you a 7, 8, 9, and a 10 cost minion from your deck. And this is on this list just because one very specific and insanely annoying deck that's ramping in Wild right now. It's known as Togwago Druid, or commonly known as Replace Your Deck with Shit and you can't do anything about it deck, which relies on 4 very specific cards in order to work. And those being, of course, the 7-mana Azalina Soul Thief, 8-mana King Togwago, 9-mana Alviana, and 10-mana Kung the Forgotten King. Yeah, you see what I'm getting to, right? And why the Melon is not gonna be a fun card to play at all, especially in Wild. And moving on to some not as busted cards, we have the Paladin Anoyo Module. That's a 4-mana 2/4 mech with Magnetic and Divine Shield and Taunt. And with all these decent mechs we're getting this expansion, I think Paladin and Warrior will have at least okay-ish mech decks, and I think this is one of the strongest cards for the Paladin one. It is just 2 Anoyotrons in one, but the Magnetic tag also allows it to work as a buff spell for your existing mechs, and it works very well with the Paladin legendary spell. So no doubt this card will make it in most, if not all, Paladin mech decks as an okay 4-drop or even a pretty good buff on an already existing mech. And onto some rogue cards, the first one of which is Academic Espionage, a 4-mana epic spell that reads, shuffle 10 cards from your opponent's class into your deck. They cost 1. And technically, if you look at the raw data, 10 random class cards in general is pretty mediocre, but if they all cost 1, it makes it way better. In my opinion, is worth playing at least 1 copy of this card for the opportunity for crazy high rolls against Druids, especially given that we'll be seeing a lot of those boys running around after this expansion. And with some decent draw, you can easily get lots of value of at least 1 copy of Academic Espionage. And don't forget the dream of that 1-mana Ultimate Infestation or 1-mana Pyroblast. Or 2 or 3. And the other rogue card we have here is the Pogo Hopper, a innocent looking 2-mana 1/1 with an insane battle cry that it gains 2+2 for each other Pogo Hopper you played this game. And this little bun might prove to be public enemy number 2 after the Druids with its insane battle cry. You would only need to play 2 of them to get crazy with the following ones, and especially with the support it gets in Standard this expansion with the new cards like Gang Up Dude and Augmented Elec. We might just see it make it into some miracle decks just for that extra win condition with many 2-mana 7+ attack minions. And especially in Wild, this card might prove to be quite a problem. Next up on the list is the Shaman minion Thunderhead, who's a 4-mana 3/5 elemental with the text that reads, after you play a card with Overload, summon 2 1/1 sparks with Rush. And what's better than an okay statted 4-drop, you might ask? Well, that would be an okay statted 4-drop with a good effect, and this one sure is, especially with the cheap shaman spells like Lightning Bolt, Zap, and the new 0-mana 1 AoE damage Beaker Lightning spell. Thunderhead might prove to be a pretty awesome card for securing early game board control. With its many potential 1/1 sparks with Rush, it buffs up your already pretty valued spells and makes them even more deadly to enemy minions, plus it's an elemental, and you know shamans love their elementals. Alright, next up on the list we have a bit of a combo. We have the Warrior 1-mana 1/3 Eternum Rover with the text that whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor, and the Paladin Glowtron, who's a 1-mana 1/3 with Magnetic. And these little dudes are on the list just because we know how good and premium the 1-mana 1/3 stat line is. And these little mechs not only have good stats, but also have pretty cool effects and are the perfect early game starting point for magnetizing them later on into the game, or just controlling the early game board. The Glowtron also having the benefit of himself also being magnetic, so you won't feel that bad top decking him later on. If you have some decent minions, you can just slap him onto them and give him a little decent 1-mana 1/3 buff. And the Rover can give you some decent amount of armor, or even crazy amounts if he stays long enough to get buffed. Next up on the list is the neutral legendary Ziliax, who is a 5 mana 3/2 mech with magnetic, divine shield, taunt, lifesteal, and rush. Well, this bad boy lands a spot on this list just because of his insane versatility thanks to all his cool effects and reasonable mana cost. He can help you stay alive with lifesteal, free trades with divine shield, gives you a taunt, and does that as soon as you play him thanks to rush. Or he can just be a huge buff to an already existing minion, making him even more deadly. And I see him as a staple legendary in all mech decks, at least in standard, since there aren't that many crazy mechs left in there. The only downside to Ziliax might be his only 3 attack, but he makes it up with his insane abilities. After that we have the Galvanizer, who is a 2 mana 1/2 mech with Battlecry. Reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. Not much I can say about this little mech here, but he's on the list just because I think mana reduction is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and this minion can help you smooth out your curve in the early stages of the game and allow you to do some pretty crazy mech combos later on. And if we compare him to his elemental cousin, the Fireplume Harbinger, the Galvanizer has 1 extra health, which could make him way more appealing. And now the last card on our list is the Giggling Inventor, who's a 5 mana 2/1 minion with a Battlecry. Summon 2 1/2 mechs with taunt and divine shield, of course those being Annoyatrons. This has to be my pick for a sleeper card of the set, because on the surface you might say, well, a 5 mana 2/1, lol, how could that see play? But people do underestimate its effect and the power of 2 Annoyatrons put randomly on the board. They have that name for a reason, as they are quite annoying to deal with, and in a zoo type deck I see this as a replacement of maybe 1 Fungomancer, since this card does the same kind of effect, but doesn't require an already existing minions on the board. And it can also save you in some situations thanks to the taunt and device shields, and it can also set up boards for a pretty good Fungomancer on the following turn, since it's difficult to remove both Annoyatrons and the 2 on body in a single turn. So I believe some zoo type board control decks might start using this card eventually. And those are my picks for the most powerful BOOMSDAY project cards, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will just have to wait and see if I'm right, but something tells me that I might just be. And as always, see you guys next time.